Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Legendary Wings, brought to us by Capcom. Based off the arcade game of the same name, Legendary Wings is a vertical and horizontal shoot-'em-up, where you're playing as one of two characters who are given wings by the war god Ares, and you're tasked with protecting Earth, in this case from an evil supercomputer that we have to deal with that's trying to take over the world. As we begin the game, you can see that you can move back and forth and fire, nothing too out of the ordinary as far as the base gameplay is concerned. You pick up power-ups in order to level up. You can level up to level 4, in which case you become the Turtle Dove status, in which case you can take multiple hits before you get downgraded. If you're level 3 or lower though when you get hit, you end up losing a upgrade and potentially lose a life if you're down at the bottom. Legendary Wings is one of my favorite NES shoot-'em-up games. It's one that I played a lot as a kid. Right there, that whole big face firing at you will take you to another little area. Thankfully, we're able to dodge the breath that it shoots out basically multiple times, but if it hits you, it will end up pulling you in. You will see one of those areas though at the end of the game. The final one, I have a really hard time actually being able to dodge. Watch out for all these giant statue heads flying at you as soon as the statue pretty much gets on screen. In this area, be careful of the blue enemies, just keep blasting them. After a few seconds, they kind of open up and start attacking you. Just kind of get in front of them and keep blasting, or just move out of the way so that when they do charge forward, they don't run into you. Right here, we're going to open up the ground and go inside, and this takes us to a bonus area. In the bonus area, there's a whole bunch of extra items to collect for points, as well as some power-ups and the like, and you'll be good to go in the game once you end up leaving this area. You just gotta be extra careful that you don't accidentally get squashed by any of the walls and the like while making your way through. Now, there are several of these in the game. I just wanted to showcase one of them, so I figured I'd show one early to get the power-ups and the like. As we make it a little farther in, you will have to destroy this wall in order to ensure your safety. Drop on down here and grab the treasures. Make sure that you don't end up staying up there too long. Near the end, you'll be able to get the power-ups. Now we're up to level 4. Once you leave the area, you pop right back out where you were, and continue on the level. These statues will block your shots while you're dealing with some regular enemies, so just kind of keep maneuvering around until you take them out. When you get near the end of an area, you'll know it because you'll find these statues that start firing at you. You have to bomb them 3 times each in order to get rid of them. You want to destroy them as quick as you can though, because as soon as they start really going, they can fire a lot of bullets quickly, and it can be difficult to dodge all of them while still being able to take out any of them. Once they're taken care of though, you get to this building with 2 more of the statues, destroy the ones outside the building, and then get prepared for a mini-boss, this time against a dragon. The mini-bosses unfortunately are all the same, and the same goes for the regular bosses, with the exception of the final one being different. What you want to do is start blasting the dragon, stay near the bottom so that when it fires out you can get between the shots. and then when it dives forward, if you're at the bottom of the screen, it won't be able to reach you. So just blast it really quickly to take care of it, and then move inside of the building. The second half of each one of the levels is a horizontal shooter. We start off with these pink enemies that after a few moments they will flip over, revealing the eye that you can actually end up hitting, so just kind of keep blasting them. There's a lot of great arcade-style shoot-'em-up games on the NES, and with this one being one of my favorites, I also love the likes of Abadox, Gradius, Life Force. But out of all of the shoot-'em-ups on the system, which one is your particular favorite? I don't know if I could pick just one favorite between them. I like this one, I like Abadox a whole lot. It's a game that I ended up playing so much as a kid that it's just ingrained in me at this point. When you reach the kind of like big open abyss area here with none of the walls and the like, you know that you're getting close to the boss encounter. The bosses are these big old machines that start moving forward towards you. After a few moments of them being on screen and getting close to you, it will retract and then open up and start firing at you. The machine also has eyes on it. Each machine will have a different amount of eyes, and after a few moments they will blast you. Your goal is to focus on the middle part of the machine, so when it opens up and fires, you're able to hit it multiple times and then just have to dodge out of the way of the projectiles and go back to work on the center spot and just keep blasting it until it's taken care of. Thankfully, the wave-like move that we have using level 4 is pretty effective for dealing with the various eyeballs that end up being fired out by these ships. Once the boss is done though, we're moving on to level number 2. Level number 2 begins. I always like the way this level looked, the water and the various platforms. We're going to move back and forth, left and right, just keep blasting all the enemies as they're appearing on screen. Use your bombs to take out the ground enemies when you end up running into them. It can be difficult to try to dodge out of the way. There's just a lot of bullets, as well as the other enemies here. Here we have another one of those heads trying to take us down into the lair. We're just going to work our way around the edge and avoid it. Thankfully, once we just get past it, all of them disappear. Interestingly enough, the game was developed by Capcom, but not released in Japan. Only in North America did Legendary Wings end up seeing a release. The level 4 status is called a couple of things. It's Turtle Dove in the arcade and Firebird in the NES version, at least according to the manual. Here we end up opening up another one of those like bonus rooms. If you got hit by that, you would have been pulled into the bonus area if you wanted to complete that. Always thought the scenery and the like was pretty cool to look at during this stage. Thankfully, most of the enemies, though, pretty easy to deal with as we're just kind of keep moving back and forth. Eventually, we'll come to land where we make it to these statues, knowing that we are nearing the end of the area now. Just keep on moving back and forth between the statues and destroy whichever ones you can if possible. Sometimes you may get overwhelmed and just have to go into defense mode and start moving around, dodging the various bullets. Just like before, destroy the statues at the end and then get ready to battle the dragon again. Keep blasting at it, move along with it at the bottom of the screen, dodge in between the couple of shots it may get off, and then go into the center again and keep blasting until it's taken care of. Now, once inside the building, we go back to the horizontal scrolling and start working our way through this building. At the start, we have to keep going up and down these columns, firing at them in order to destroy a couple of pieces so that we can get through. Only a few pieces are destructible. These enemies in particular are exceptionally annoying. As they fire out straight, it can be difficult to actually hit them, but after a few moments they will go from the bottom to the top of the screen, and that gives you your opportunity to deliver your hit. Keep your distance a little bit from the hornet-like enemies, just kind of blast them from afar. Thankfully, me getting hit doesn't stay for too long as I'm able to get another power-up. Stay a little bit low here so you can destroy these as they come down from the ceiling. Just keep working your way along the top. Here I'm just messing with the laser at the bottom as I wait for the screen to scroll, and it's time for the next boss encounter. The strategy is going to pretty much remain the same like before. We have to wait for it to kind of come out, and then it'll retract and open up, and be ready to keep firing at it and dodge out of the way of its projectiles. Thankfully, the eyeballs aren't too bad to deal with. When they increase in the amount in the later bosses, it gets a little bit tougher to dodge them as well as be able to take them all out, but at least during the early bosses, they're not too bad. Once the boss is taken care of, we're moving on to the next level. Level number 3 begins as we're working our way up this river. There are mountains in the stage that will block your path, so you gotta make sure that you don't end up getting squashed by them. Unfortunately, you can't fire backwards, so some enemies aren't able to be hit. You just have to kind of keep moving and dodging their fire. These gray balls that shoot out spikes can be very annoying. As you can see, they do a nice big spread shot as soon as they appear. Try to dodge in between the spikes and then keep firing at them to destroy them. Here we're going to dodge the giant head again. Work our way on the left, get him to start firing, and then go to the right quickly and up. Moving around slowly enough that the projectiles don't end up hitting us and pulling us into the battle, or into that area. Usually for these enemies, I'll just stay on one side more so than the other, just because it's easier to do that than keep going back and forth. When there's too much going on, like a lot of classic games, it does slow down just a little bit, but not too much. Here's another one of those bonus rooms if you want to go down there in order to get some extra items and points. Right here with all of the enemies, I'm going to stay near the bottom for a bit until those other enemies show up and then dive for it really quickly just to avoid most of them. Be careful of these enemies. When you blast them, they end up sending a spread shot out after they're destroyed. Right after them, though, is the statue area again. Just do your best not to get hit by their fire. It's sometimes a little bit difficult to actually see. Take out the two statues in front of the building and get ready for that dragon fight. As the dragon shows up, we're going to keep blasting, move to the left just a little bit, get between those shots, and then finish it off in the center, just like we've done both other times so far. Inside of the next area is a little bit different looking for sure. Overall, I think a cool design, color scheme wise and such. Here I'm watching out for these lasers, just going to go past them as the screen scrolls and watch out for their shots, firing at the pink eyeball enemies as I do so. Right after that, you'll have to destroy some walls so that you can make your way through. Here you have a lot of these hornet enemies. Fire at whichever row you prefer. Usually I stay near the top and just keep blasting to get through that spot. Right after that you have these different robots that are formed. You can blast them as soon as they start appearing. Just keep doing it really quickly and you can destroy them before they really get going. If they do get going, just be sure not to stand directly in front of them so you end up getting hit by their blast. Right after them though, it's time for the next boss encounter. Just like we've done before, wait for the boss to get ready and then shoot the eyeballs and then fire at the center spot. Move out of the way of the projectiles that it ends up firing out. Now each one of these bosses gets a little bit kind of like closer to you on that left side. So be careful, of course, when they do open up and fire that you're not too close and end up getting hit directly by the projectiles. Once we take down the boss though, we're moving on to the next level. As we begin the next area, we're going to slowly start making our way upwards. Watch out for the cannons on the far left and right side, as well as these annoying enemies that form. You're not really able to destroy them, so you just kind of get out of the way of them. There's also these annoying spikes and such that you have to deal with, which can be quite a nuisance. Right after that, the game probably will slow down a bit. There's a lot of ground enemies and other enemies coming at you. Thankfully, when it does slow down, it actually helps you a little bit being able to dodge out of the way of some of the projectile fire. Here we have the giant head again. Watch out for it as it fires out. It's going to do so pretty quickly. It's a little bit harder to dodge than the last one, but not as hard as the final one to actually get out of the way of. Be careful grabbing the power-up as those enemies form right after that. Here you have these like drill bits coming out of the left and right walls trying to run into you. Very similar to a Mega Man enemy. I'm going to stay near the bottom of the screen, moving back and forth, and just keep blasting to try to get through this next area. It can be difficult with some of these pink like pipe things overhead that you can't quite see everything, but if you keep firing on both sides, you should be able to take out anything that does show up underneath of them. Here's more of those enemies that shoot at you when you end up destroying them, followed by the statue area for this stage. Just do what we've been doing before. I'm going to stay near the bottom of the screen to kind of help me out a little bit, firing at as many of these statues as I can. Sometimes it's best, though, instead of actually destroying them, just dodge out of the way. When we get to the building, like always, destroy the two statues in front of it, and then take down the dragon with the same strategy that we've been using for each and every one of these fights before. Thankfully, it's just as easy as every other time. In the next area, watch out for the green enemies. You can actually hit them if you're all the way on the left wall. You can shoot and be able to destroy them before they're able to actually hit you with one of their bullets. You can move out of the way quickly. Work your way through. You can destroy this wall in order to get a power-up if you like, but be sure to get out of there quickly so you don't end up getting squashed. Here, once again, open up the wall just so you don't end up getting crushed by the wall as it slowly starts to scroll. Just gotta take our time with these laser enemies above. They follow us basically, so we wait for them to fire and then quickly get past them. Right after that is more of the pink robots that form together and start firing at you, but you can hopefully destroy most of them before they actually get any kind of firepower off. Move up and down quickly with the hornet enemies and just keep blasting. You should be able to destroy most of them. That's the last of the enemies though before we end up making it to the next boss encounter. Like always, the boss is going to slowly start to make its way towards us. Just be careful that when it does start doing this, that it doesn't run into you. Be prepared to fire at the eyeballs, there's quite a few of them now, and then go to work on that center spot like always. Sometimes with the amount of eyeballs here and all, the game will slow down a little bit, just something that will end up helping us a tiny bit. It'll take a little bit to take the boss down just because we're also dodging a little bit, but once it is, we're moving on to the final level of the game. As we begin the final level, you have a group of enemies come your way. You can easily destroy them all in a row and then do the same for the next set. It's always fun and very satisfying to destroy an entire line of enemies. Be careful of the red enemies right here, as well as just those ground stuff firing at us. It will potentially slow the game down a little bit as you're going through. Unfortunately, it's really hard to actually dodge this version of the face, so I end up getting hit and have to do the extra area. It definitely looks cool for sure, but since it's not necessarily something you have to do, I usually avoid these areas and all. But I wanted to show one, and it was nearly impossible to dodge that last one, so it worked out well. There's not a whole lot going on at the start of it. We just kind of have to work our way through. You can fire at all these enemies from a distance as they're coming out. Then wait for a good opening if you can, and then quickly run across. Or fly across. At the end of the area, you'll be transferred to another room. Here we have to deal with an enemy. It'll be popping out of the walls. Just kind of keep moving and firing at each one of them. They do fire out projectiles, but they're pretty easy to dodge. They don't move too fast. Once you take out all of these snake worm things, whatever they are, you move back out of the area and back to the main level. Lots of enemies are going to be coming to bombard you, as well as the things on the ground firing at you. Usually I just stay on the left side and avoid most of the fire. Thankfully the game does slow down a little bit. That helps me out as far as being able to dodge some of the bullets. After that area, get back to the bottom. I'm going to fire back and forth a little bit to destroy some of these enemies. There is a couple more ground things right there, but thankfully they're not as bad as that whole group we just dealt with before. Just keep moving back and forth between these areas, watching out for the various turrets that are firing. Right after that, there's some more of it, so you'll probably get pretty good at being able to get through this area. Here we make it to the last of the statue areas for the game. Take care of as many of the green statues as you can, watching out for the fire, etc., etc. As we reach the end here, we're going to blast the statues and then face off with the final dragon. Take it down just like we've been doing before, blast it, move to the left, dodge in between the shots, and finish it off in the center. Here we go with the final area of the game. We start off with the pink robots being formed, so we're going to blast them as quick as we can. Try to destroy them before they end up firing at us. Be careful right here that you go up so that you can make it around and not get squashed. Grab the power-up if you like, and work your way through the maze quickly. Here is us blasting more of these like towers, and there's only a couple of spots that you can blast, so you have to kind of keep shooting until you find them and get through quickly. Quickly move your way around here so you don't end up getting crushed by the wall. After that, you're going to have the pink robots being formed and firing at you when they do. Just keep moving up and down and firing at each one, and then the area opens up and it's time for the boss encounter. Now you face off with the same boss we always have, but then once we defeat that, we move on to the actual final boss, which is different. This time around, when the ship shows up, it's going to move all the way over to the left side, basically. Stay far back and get ready to start firing at the eyeballs as soon as they end up flying towards you. Just like always, blast the center when it opens up and get out of the way of the spread shot. Sometimes it can be difficult to get out of the way, you may just want to take a hit. Once we deliver the final hit to the boss, it's going to open up the center area and we can now blast our way through, and this leads us to the final boss encounter. I always thought that was a cool way to get you from the regular boss you're used to into something new. For this boss, we're just going to keep blasting it and moving. When it shows up, make sure that it's not directly on top of you, fire at it for a few seconds, and then when it's getting ready to fire its projectiles, just move out of the way. All the projectiles quickly come directly wherever you're standing, so if you move quickly out of the way, you'll be able to dodge them each time. Doesn't necessarily seem like a final boss compared to what we were just dealing with, but this actually is the final boss. No extra forms, no nothing like that. Once it's done, you can enjoy the ending to Legendary Wings on the NES. So there you have it, Legendary Wings for the NES. Like I said, a favorite of mine. It does get a little bit repetitive for sure. Fighting the same bosses over and over again isn't ideal by any means, but back when I was young, it wasn't something that really bothered me that much. As we see the presented by Capcom USA, it then goes back to the first level and you can start the game all over again. But with that will wrap up this episode of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.